Hello YouTube, this is going to be a video on my very first 3D printed puzzle. So this is the Coren Puzzle 6x6. Now this mechanism is based off of, but not completely, like, it's different from the mechanism of this puzzle, which was the handmade Coren Puzzle 8x8, which is very similar to the mechanism that came out later of the V-Cube 8, but that used 2x2, this uses 4x4. Now, this was actually quite a failure. Now, this, to get an idea, this was meant to be a speed cube. Now you can see it turns, but it's just so catchy. Like, once the layer gets going, it's pretty good, but you can see, it's so catchy. Now, you can see here, it's a bit of a failure. The inner layers, which were ridiculously good on this puzzle, are okay, but not super great on this puzzle. Now, the similarities in the mechanism are basically, this has a 4x4 core, this has a 4x4 core. That's pretty much it. Now, yeah, this puzzle just, you can see it's quite catchy. Yeah, it does stuff like that, but luckily it does not pop very often. It does pop, but yeah, you can see here, let's compare this to a 6x6 Sheng Chao. It is a bit smaller. So this is I think 60 millimeter. Yeah, this Sheng Chao is like a 66. Maybe this is a little bit bigger than 60, I don't know. It's about the same size as a 4x4, so it is a mini 6x6. Now, taking a look at a bit of the mechanism, I'm only going to go into this basic one piece here, just because this is a really hard puzzle to assemble. So, as you can see, this piece is more of a V-Cube 5x5 looking piece. Now, obviously, if we were to take out the same piece on a 6x6, there is some striking differences. The proportions are all wrong. Now, the problem with this design over the 6x6 design, this has some benefits and this has some benefits. The benefits of this is, if you do it right, like this one, inner layers are amazing, and the whole cube is amazing. Now this is not so good because it's handmade, but this is a pretty good puzzle. It's not quite comparable to the mass-produced version, but again, this is made out of handmade puzzles. Handmade cube. Now this one just didn't turn out so good. Now, it's mainly about these pieces along this row. They twist and stuff. And that basically, yeah, you can see here, it's basically catching in between the two. Just like that. That's the main thing. That's why the inner layers, they don't catch as much. They just have this weird sort of clicky feel almost, but that's just pieces rubbing against each other. Inner layers are definitely the best. Unfortunately, they're not even that good. Anyways, now, the solutions I have for this puzzle, I kind of came up with a bunch of them. Like, I still don't fundamentally understand why this puzzle is so bad. Like, I get why it's not great. Some design flaws. The main design flaws. Okay, I'll tell you the main design flaws. First of all, this puzzle does not have any springs, and that is due to a major design flaw in the core. As you can see, here is the actual 3D printed core, and since I'm holding it here, you can obviously tell it didn't make it into here. This actually is using a Diane Zanchi core, or standard Diane core. So yeah, that was quite a mod to get a core that is not meant to have the XP27 alignment mechanism used. So anyways, it was quite a mod just to get the core, and that didn't allow for room for the springs, so that's a major mistake. This puzzle does not have springs. Honestly, I don't think it would help it too much, but at least a little bit. Another major design flaw here is, unfortunately, this row of pieces are just too small. Now, I thought the idea was if they were not too close to the core, they would just get out of the way, you know. But as I noted, like you literally just, you know, they fall out, but they really don't pop in Assault. I don't know why. In Assault, even though it's that easy, they don't come out that easy. It's weird. But anyways, yeah, these pieces were fundamentally close to the exterior to keep out of the way of the core, but since they don't have very much room, or they're not very big, they twist and they catch like this. So this is causing major lockups. And not the biggest, I think the biggest mistake was this, but hands down an absolutely terrible thing, which was a seriously noob at designing in SolidWorks on my part, and that is, as you can see, this puzzle is extremely sharp. Now all these rounds you see here were the result of literally a day of sanding. Like, these rounds are not even natural rounds in the puzzle. Now, the problem arose from the fact that while I was designing the puzzle in SolidWorks, which took a week, by the way, a ridiculous amount of time, I would always have the puzzle really zoomed in the view, so each piece would be like as big as my hand, kind of, so I'd be looking at that angle. So the pieces would be really close up like this, and the rounds looked totally sufficient when zoomed in that close, but if you really looked at it from this far away and you tried to pick out the rounds, you can't even see them. So it was just critically under-rounded. Also, genius idea was to print these as a split edge. That was a bad idea, so that just caused lockups. Unnecessary lockups. Anyways, I have some solutions to the problems, others, I don't know. I realize that this mechanism is going to need a bit of an overhaul to work properly. I want to print a second prototype, but these are extremely expensive to print, as you can imagine. It's Shapeways. This is quite possibly the most expensive 6x6 in existence, and it's probably the worst. YJ is a little worse than this, I'd say, but not by much. Anyways, that's the Coren Puzzle 6x6 3D printed.